Now, while the overall mood of Arsenal fans is very negative and Arsenal have been on terrible form, there's definitely reasons why it can get better in the future. However, a quick fix to the whole solution is Martin Ødegaard coming back. And in this video, we're going to look at why that makes Arsenal a lot better. So let's get into it. Now, first of all, I do think that there's a lot of problems with this Arsenal team, more than just Ødegaard, and I think that is quite obvious to see. But with Ødegaard coming back, I do think the performances will at least be a lot better, but we still have played well in the game against Inter Milan, specifically a lot better than we did against Newcastle or Bournemouth with that red card. Now, against Inter Milan, Arsenal basically did the same thing that they have been doing, but just did it even more intently, which did work in terms of creating chances, as they had an XG of over 2 at the San Siro. But against a good defence like Inter Milan, it was relatively easy for them to do well to keep the ball. Now, one of the major problems in that game was that Arsenal continued to spam the ball into the box. They did almost over 40 crosses in the second half, and not many of them really gave Arsenal that many chances. There was a few here and there which they probably should do better from, but overall it's not enough for the amount of chances, amount of crosses they are doing. The problem about this as well is that they have brilliant crossing ability with Martinelli and Saka, and should have great heading ability in the box. Now, Mourinho didn't have the best game, came off at half time, and then that kind of limited it a little bit, but they still have enough quality in there with Havertz and Rice where they should probably get a header in there or there. Now, the first big problem that really is limiting Arsenal that Ødegaard will instantly help is that Ødegaard will probably let Arsenal go back to their 4-2-3-1 system and stop with this 4-2-2-2. Now, this 4-2-2-2 or 4-4-2, if the wingers come deeper, like I have said, has worked in the past when you had Timber and Calafiori inverting in the middle and making them runs. And Timber did make some good runs against Inter Milan, which definitely helped Arsenal and got them a lot forward. However, without Calafiori on the left side is definitely not as good, and Mourinho seems to continuously make the same movements where he overlaps, and it never really works. It doesn't give Martinelli too much space in comparison to a fullback that would come into them positions, which we simply aren't getting right now with Calafiori not in the team, even though we have people like Timber who can go in there and help a little bit, but it's not going to be consistent with the angles that he wants. And with Ødegaard coming into the team, that also gives Arsenal probably their biggest problem right now is Trossard leaving the team. Now, I don't like to talk about small things like this. I like to go more in detail, and it's quite clear a lot of the fan base believe that Trossard should not be starting right now, and I kind of have to agree. I do think that could be a simple solution to the problems. Trossard in these games have not been good enough, and I think it is quite clear that he can start a few games here or there. I think against PSG he was specifically quite good, but he has to be an impact sub. His passing and touch from outside the area, especially a lot deeper around the halfway line, is awful. He gives the ball away too much, causes us too many problems, and I do not think he is physical enough to really get into them good pockets for Arsenal. Now, per game he's never really having as much duels as anyone around him, and when Arsenal are specifically crossing the ball in a lot, it's not really going to go to him. We're hoping that we can have a low cross and get him on back post maybe, but he's not going to be a great person in the box to win headers. And when you've already got Martinelli behind him basically having the same role as Trossard, just a bit more wider, it doesn't really make sense for him to be in the team. I also think specifically he has been playing awful, there's no doubt about it. He's even been playing at a low level to what his quality can show, so he definitely doesn't warrant deserving to be in the team right now. Now, this is also a problem with Ødegaard and obviously not being in the team. Ødegaard would usually be in the middle, and we'd probably get a lot of creative output there where Trossard could come deeper and he could probably work in them sort of half spaces, but because we primarily are really only creating stuff from crossing the ball in, it's actually not being the best. Now, even with Calafiori in left back when Arsenal were really good, we are still a very cross heavy team. The whole point is that the fullbacks basically push and drag players away from the wingers so they can get one-on-ones or be able to have the space to run in and score back post from each other. It's still a very predominant crossing system. Arteta has always predominized crossing. He loves it. I mean, we have brilliant crosses like Saka and Rice, so it kind of makes sense. But when it hasn't been working, it is quite clear we need that attacking player in the middle. Now, not only is Ødegaard going to work better from deeper, where we do struggle sometimes with build-up, forcing Rice to move into positions he doesn't want to, or Mourinho as well, not being in the brilliant form he's in, not making the right passes in the forward areas. Ødegaard will mostly make the right passes. He will mostly get the ball from deep and work the ball well in them areas. He won't drag the ball up individually, but he will find the right passes to get us up there. He's also reliable on the ball. He barely ever gives the ball away, and in them little tight spaces where 3 or 4 players are around him, he can just drag players away from our teammates because he is such a good provider from them areas, and his significant on the ball pressure will help. I also think not only is Saka obviously going to improve with Ødegaard there, I do think that sometimes Ødegaard should do more overlaps with Saka. It's something I've criticised him a little bit. He's kind of sometimes in that area when he wants to cut inside, but I do think it actually gives Arsenal a lot more opportunities to rotate. Now, I don't think Sterling's been particularly amazing when he's played in right wing. I think he's been a lot better on that left for Arsenal, but he definitely prefers a player on the inside of him. You saw it with Waneri against Preston. I think Sterling was much better in that first half than he has been in other games where he had someone to work off with in them areas, and Waneri pulled players away as well. I think that will be very important for people like Sterling, people like Martinelli as well love that, and it really gives an opportunity for Ødegaard to get into them positions in a time that we actually need. He can work well interchange with them players, and it will make that right side a lot more better, which would also give the left side a lot more space to actually work, because I think that is some of the struggles right now. Now, off the ball, he's also going to be a vital component to the team. Now, everyone always says that anyone can run, you know, it's not that deep, but Arsenal's out of possession style has been one of the best in Europe across the last 18 months, and although we're still not brilliant at the moment, and I say out of possession sometimes has been a bit off, I still think overall it's been pretty good. Now, with Ødegaard, it instantly gets better. He's going to be the main presser alongside Havertz up front this time, where they can actually press people within the either side, and I think we've seen a lot better improvement from Martinelli this year. I think his pressing and his off the ball work defensively has been better, and this may help Mourinho finally learn the system. He can kind of work off Ødegaard. If Ødegaard goes one way on the right, he can go on the left, and it actually makes Arsenal automatically a much more attacking and creative team when we get them two players really far up there and we only have one sitting midfielder being Partey or Rice. And I don't think the 4-4-2 or 4-2-2-2 is the worst system in the world. I just think the way it's working right now, with the fact we have no midfield creativity in the central areas, and the fact that we're heavy reliant on the wingers and Trossard's not really gonna help us that much at the moment, make it poor. I think if you played the same sort of system, which we have seen Arteta do out of possession sometimes, with Ødegaard and Havertz in them two elevated striker positions, you could say, they could definitely work a lot better off the ball with each other, and will get into a lot more duels and be a lot more significant on the ball from deeper, which could actually help Arsenal and the wingers like Martin and Saka get in behind. This also allows people like Jorginho to come in, or maybe Partey and Rice as a defensive pivot, where you don't need to play Mourinho in every game. So I do think Mourinho is still struggling with some of the sort of things that we want to see him within the team, and it's better to rotate the team in midfield anyway, because we can't really have any more injuries happening. Now, overall, I do think it's been a very negative time, but I do think there was positives in the Inter Milan game overall. I know the result is still awful and it's still not a great situation, but the Chelsea game is utmost important on the week, and if Arsenal can get a good result there, I do believe there's still a chance for anything to happen. Ødegaard also being back probably won't start, I would have to say, with his fitness levels, but hopefully being able to at least play half an hour could be a brilliant vital component. And although I have been very critical of Arteta for not playing Waneri in these times, I know Newcastle weren't brilliant, but I still think against Inter he showed a lot more than Trossard. What is done is done, and we can't change the past, so we have to move on, and Waneri will get his opportunities. I think it's quite clear you're going to see that, but it's now time for Martin Ødegaard and for us to start taking this league seriously. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think about the video in the comments. Please like and subscribe for any more football or Arsenal content, and I'll see you in the next one.